どうした？
大丈夫。
戦だ。緊張して当然さ。自分の使命を覚えてるか？
弥生族を倒し、危険の道を切り開く。
そうだ。それが我々守護者としての使命。前進を続けよう。
Greetings, gamer. Maximus here. Let's talk about Shrine Rivalry and how you could approach it in a way that you can outperform other players. I will give you a build compatible for this game mode, and a few PvP strats against high CP and low CP opponents, as well as fixing a few points problem common among high CP players. Shrine Rivalry game mode will transition to Shrine's Peak at the end of the week, and that is where you can earn those prestigious treasures and mount. You will be matched up against 12 random players each day for 3 consecutive days. Please do not miss challenging even a single day because it would greatly affect your rank. There are 2 modes in Shrine Rivalry, the Challenger and Easy mode. The difference would be if you choose to battle in Easy mode, your opponent's overall strength is reduced by 50%. Rewards are given in Easy mode, but points for ranking will not be credited. Hence you have no choice but to battle in Challenger mode, which is the most reasonable choice, and it will also pave way in order for you to join Shrine's Peak. Shrine Rivalry is a qualifier game mode with a point system. The mechanics of the game is that the more remaining HP your character has after the end of every battle, the more points you earn. The higher the rank is, the better the rewards. For 3 consecutive days, Shrine Rivalry will be available, and at the end of the contest, according to your rank, you will be divided into 3 groups. The first one is for ranks 1 to 20. Players will be under the King's group. For ranks 21 to 40, they will be under Warrior group, and lastly for ranks 41. 60, they will be under Adventurers group. Supreme treasure chests are rewarded accordingly. Once you open the chests, you will have a chance to get orange treasure fragments. Also, only the top 10 players under King's group will receive the Deep Sea Skate mount with a usage validity of 6 days. Orange or gold treasure fragments are currently the best treasures available in the game today, and you need to collect 10 fragment pieces in order for it to be usable. Obtaining gold treasures is a huge advantage because the bonus attributes coming from these treasures are focused on PvP gameplay. Thus, the better treasures you possess, the bigger advantage you have during PvP matchups. Before we start on the build and strategies, let me first mention a few things that you must never do or use in Shrine's Rivalry game mode. Number 1 on my list is do not use Flower Fairy Ixora, because her fairy skill Flame Dragon Strike consumes 25% health points from your character upon skill activation, and by using her, there is a big chance you will not get perfect marks on the match. Second would be to never use the Gladiator class in Shrine Rivalry. Why? Similar to Ixora, Gladiator skill activation requires HP sacrifice, even though you bursted down your opponent because you have a higher combat power. There is a big chance that by the end of the match, you will not be able to fully recover the health points you lost after the HP sacrifice triggered, which was the prerequisite of the Gladiator skill you used. Now let me show you the will generation and cores you can use to close these point gaps, and as well as the will core and generation setup that you can try and use to beat your higher CP opponents in Shrine Rivalry. Let's tackle first for the high CP players who wish to close the gap of point 1 or point whatever gaps you have between 99% to 100%. Given you have superior combat power, I recommend you using Instinct Will Core with Will Generation Plunder level 4. Let's see how this goes. I'm equipped with level 12 Fierce Attack and level 6 Instinct together with level 4 Plunder. Our main goal here is to correct and or eliminate the gaps point 34.5 or point whatever gaps we get. If you ask me why is there a need to equip Instinct and Plunder, it's because it may be easy for most to dodge the ultimate fairy skill of the opponent, but how about the normal hits your opponent's fairy make, which was the main cause of those point gaps? Well, for me, it's hard to dodge those, and we have limited dodge skills. That is why I resorted to use Instinct Will Core and Plunder Generation to resolve the point gap issues and get 100% perfect mark. Let's now talk about as a player with lower CP, how can we beat an opponent with higher combat power than us? There are only 2 approaches to accomplish this goal. First is to burst them down, and second is dodge and sustain their incoming damage. In short, a battle of endurance. Before we get into the will cores and generation, let me give you a recommendation about the fairies you can use to accomplish our goal, regardless if you choose to go burst type or sustain type. I highly recommend that your 4 deployed fairies will have 2 fairies of each type, the crowd control type and the DPS burst type fairy paired to one another. Let me show you a few examples to begin with. Just remember, the formula is fairy CC type to fairy burst type. Then switch class fairy CC again to fairy burst type. First off, for the holy fairies you can use Lycoris, which is a CC type, and Sakura, which is actually both CC and burst type, or Lycoris and Laurel paired is also viable. For fire, my personal favorite, Hydrangea of Flames and Erythrina. If your flower fairy's ultimate skill is turned on at the auto battle page section under skills, I recommend you turn it off so you can trigger Erythrina's skill manually, because her skill will have an additional 80% damage once you hit an opponent with 40% HP or less. For those who play Dota, Erythrina's Time Sickle is like Necromancer's ultimate skill. The Reaper's Scythe. Next would be for Earth, Primrose and Marigold, or Carnation and Primrose. For the second recommendation, why did I place Carnation before Primrose? It's because of how long it takes for her skill to activate. If you trigger it in the same sequence like I do, your opponents will not be able to escape. If you interchange it, there is chance that Carnation's first pull will be dodged by your opponents, enabling them to escape. Primrose Rock Boulder Stun will keep them in place and pave way for Carnation's first pull, keeping them in check. For the Wind Fairies, first would be Balloon Flower and Camellia. But if you have Almond Blossom, her dodge buff is nice too, so you can go dodge to CC, and that would be Almond Blossom paired with Balloon Flower. And last, for the Water Fairies, if available, you can pair Lavender and Viola, or Lavender paired with Lotus. Another viable formation for water could be Flower Fairy Lotus to Hydrangea. Finally, let's talk about the will cores and generation that would give us the best shot against high CP players. The will core generation you will use can be as follows. Number 1 will be the will core Fierce Attack at the highest level you could possibly can. It doesn't matter if you equip 4 Fierce Attack cores to your 4 deployed fairies, just to reach max level 12 Fierce Attack. If you reached max level 12 with 3 or 2 will cores, you may equip the last 2 or 1 slot with Slaughter for additional burst damage. For the will generations, you have 3 options. First, go for critical hits using Break Free, 4 set level 4. Second would be increasing the base damage of your non-critical hits with the use of Soul Hunt level 4. Third and last would be Plunder. If ever your damage fell short, this will enable you to sustain a little longer for the 3rd cycle of your skill combos. Next would be for the Sustained Damage type, or as I call it, the 50-50 offense to defense class setup. Assuming your will generation setup will be the offensive type generations I showed you on the previous frame. The first defensive will core will be God Bliss, which will give us 20% damage reduction at max level 12, which will stay active for the whole duration of the match. Second will be Rigidity. This core will be very useful in order for you to sustain the incoming damage you are unable to dodge. Rigidity grants our characters a shield equal to 17% of our max HP for 10 seconds, and an additional damage reduction of 36% lasting for 4 seconds. Let's take a look at this match between a low CP player versus a high CP player. Gypsy is equipped with level 7 Fierce Attack, and a level 3 Slaughter will core together with 4 set level 4 Plunder. And we got a win despite the CP gap of negative 200,000, so don't give up. Let me now give you some PvP tips you can use during battle. First would be the most important out of all the skills you must develop, and that is to learn how to dodge your opponent's skills, including their ultimate Flower Fairy skills. Improvement and mastery will take some time, and dodging is not 100% guaranteed all the time. You can practice PvP matches against your server mates, which I think is a good exercise for your PvP, and especially your dodge skills to improve steadily. Second, running around to wait for your skill cooldowns is clever. There is no shame in this. It is very unwise to engage on close quarter combat, hitting your opponent with normal attacks while he or she dishes out skills on your face. That is not the way to win a match where you have CP inferiority. In this match, I got knocked up by my opponent that should have been a .20.30 deduction. But Plunder was able to cover that lost HP to still give me perfect marks for this match. In Gypsy's match, we initiated dodge first, but another way to approach a match would be to get close to your opponent while the countdown runs and immediately knock them up and unload on them with your fairy skills and skill combos. As you can see, against 12 opponents, the highest points you can achieve would be 12,000. For high CP players, I hope this strategy will fix your issues with the small point gaps. For the low CP players, work with what you have and do your best, but most of all, enjoy the game. Before I end this video, huge shout out to Chucky for the support he is on every single one of my YouTube videos since day one. Thank you, Chuck! To my guildmates in 417, shout out to Gerson Jiro Yado, Sassy Tsubaki Revise, Flurry Yahiko Mikasa Chives, Dante Alonli, Satu and Diablo. This is Maximus once again. I hope you learned something new. Happy gaming! I hope to see you on my next video.